often wonder if people truly want it.
Want what?
Communication.
I got a question. Can we talk for a minute?
Absolutely.
But will you listen?
Absolutely. I'll give it to you because simply put, if we don't do that for each other, we can't connect.
You know, most people have a hard time with that, though.
Well, you got to be vulnerable.
You think it's because they really want to hear themselves?
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
I mean, they really don't want to hear anything in opposition of what they have to say.
Well, one of our biggest problems is when we're at conflict with ourselves. Mm-hmm. Anytime somebody brings up something that's objective within ourselves,
okay,
we play mirror. And then now we got, and now we struggle because all we're doing is projecting what we see or what we think we see.
Okay, so I mean, we're not trying to grow. We're not trying to open our minds to see what someone else has to say. We want to stay in that place that we're at because it's safe.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
Comfortable. Speaking of comfortable, get comfortable, guys, because we're back. You already know what time it is. Welcome back to STROK'D, the art of mental stimulation. You already know what's about to go down, what we're about to do. We're about to touch on subjects at depths that most people aren't willing to go. You already know the flow about now. We're not afraid to go there. Transparency at its finest. What's going on, brother?
Let's get stroked up.
Ooh, he always got
to see you, D-Luv.
He always got to hit you with that. Man, I've been fiending to get back on this mic, man. You know how bad I've been wanting to be on this mic, sitting right here next to you? I got some stuff to say, man.
Oh, man, I can't wait, dude. Look, I'll be patient because patience is not one of my strongest qualities. But, you know, I got a few people that'll say.
You don't like to wait?
Not necessarily. But I will listen because I'm not afforded.
Oh, okay. There you go. Speaking of afforded, I think that's what we're about to talk about. The misconception of communication. Most people think they're doing it right. You know, most people think they're doing it correctly, but we all kind of get it twisted sometimes, myself included. But we want to try to get down to the depths of how we can work on that, how we can go closer as a people as we get down to the depths of what we're supposed to be doing to make.
Well, now I want to hit it raw since you brought that particular part of the conversation up, right?
Sheesh.
Right. So when I look at the word communication,
okay,
I'm gonna take the commune part first, right? And I look at that and I say to myself, okay, we're supposed to build a village. Okay. You know, establish a atmosphere or an environment. Mm-hmm. Without it, guess what we don't have?
What don't we have?
The nation we live in. Okay.
I mean, here you go. You know him. He about to jump to it. The nation that we live in. The United States, the United Nations. What nation?
Well, any country for the most part. Here we go with ideology.
Okay.
When we lack communication and we deprive our, community of that, then we get ourselves distant.
I think with communication, man, I think a lot of people, they don't also, I'm probably getting off, they don't realize they're doing it with more than the words that are coming out of their mouth. Number one, when you're communicating. Body language plays a lot into it. You could be saying, let's say you're having a conversation with someone, you're having conflict. You could be saying something to someone, the words that are coming out of your mouth are saying one thing, but your body could be saying something totally different, sending a totally different message. And that's why I really want to break it down and maybe help some people to figure this out because maybe they don't understand that.
Man, you make me wonder about that particular aspect.
Why?
So when you're looking at a person, we were taught at a young age by older generations that look a person in the eyeball, right? So
windows to the soul.
Windows to the soul.
Okay.
So one of the biggest struggles is we don't observe nor see how people feel along the way. We're so engulfed with ourselves.
Okay.
So like, say you and I are having a conversation. I'm looking at you dead in your eyeballs, right? And then all of a sudden, your body language shifts and it gets reclusive, or you stand backish.
Right, most people are not paying attention to that though.
But why not? They're engulfed in themselves.
They're engulfed in themselves. That's what it is. Most people, we worried about getting our message across so much that the other people's message getting lost in transition. It's like you could be talking about a different subject. You got this point you want to make. The person could be saying something or whatever, making a point of what they want to make. But all you care about is being right and getting your point across instead of being open to growth and being open to hearing another person's perspective. So, you find yourself in that situation often, or have you grown past that, Stro?
Well, I'm not gonna sit there and say that I've grown past it like entirely because I'm not perfect. I'm imperfect. But one of the biggest problems is, growing up in a community where you're familiar with being with deaf individuals. It's a struggle when you can't talk to a person. Dialogue doesn't continue.
Okay.
And that's one of our biggest problems. We let emotion control our thought process. And all of a sudden, the body language starts becoming demonstrative. And what I mean by that is you can have a person that you're talking to, and all of a sudden they're making certain strong gestures, and now you're turned off immediately. And unbeknownst to the people involved is that we're reading body language along the way.
But you think with you being a coder, I don't know if you guys listen to the other episodes. Coda is a child of deaf adults. Stro shared that both of his parents are deaf. So you think people who grow up in that community or, had experiences that you've been through, do you think communication is held in a much higher regard than the average person? Because the lack of communication as far as the deaf not being able to speak or whatever. So you really hold on to that. You value it.
If you want me to summarize coders in that type of situation, I'll say, mature coders will probably understand that communication is essential. And you have to pause. You have to take your time because emotion in the deaf community runs extremely fast.
Okay.
It's rampant. So when you're dealing with, hearing people, for example, one of the things you have to understand is you recognize that the emotion is processing pretty fast. Now, if you're a young coder, that might not go too well.
Okay.
A young coder probably would, choose physical emotion as a result. It's an outlet.
So I got a question. I don't know why I just thought of this because we're on this subject now. But in that community, you said look a person in their eye. With sign language being the first language, actually, that we had here first, is that possible? Do you guys still look each other in the eye, or you can't because you kind of focus on the gestures and the hand movements and the signs?
Here's the thing. Now, technically, because I'm not deaf, but I'm a child of, this is what ends up happening. You're looking in the eyeball, but you can see all your perspective very well. So in essence, your energy around you, your physical gesturing becomes indications, clues, so to speak, as to what's going on in the mind.
So it's more so not the signs, the energy surrounding it.
Yes.
So the energy and the signs are kind of just like looking in the eyeballs because, right.
To the soul.
Right. When it's to the soul. Look, I'm figuring this out, y'all, processing this as I go. But I was just thinking about that, man. Another thing with communication, said before, most people are listening just to reply, not to understand.
Right.
I'm listening to what I have to say to make sure I'm right.
Right.
I want to be right all the time. I want to win this argument. Pride.
But here becomes my problem with the lack of communication.
Okay.
So, the misconception, right? Mm-hmm. So, again, we talked about commune, a village. Mm-hmm. You cannot raise a child unless you have a village raising the child. We can't build a nation, which means we can't build a person, because without building a person, we don't build a nation.
Okay.
So when you cannot communicate, if you and I can't talk to each other,
okay,
we can't have people that will be connected to us. Mm-hmm. So we can't have a community.
Got you.
You see what I'm saying?
I got you. I'm following you all the way, man.
So that's one of my biggest struggles when I think about it. And again, being a coder, that becomes essential because anybody that is a coder automatically knows that sometimes your parents will play like they don't speak the same language as you.
Interesting.
Most hearing people don't actually struggle with that unless it's some bilingualness.
Got you.
I made up a word.
I got it. I follow where you're going. Y'all follow where you're going, right? Go ahead.
So what ends up happening is they'll speak, a variety of that language to you.
Because you're hearing and they got their own little community. So it's like, and it's getting way off subject, but now it just hit me.
Well, it's communication.
So it's like, communication. So it's like, even if you're hearing like and they're deaf and you might be their kid or whatever, they still don't want you just totally in their community. They still want to keep you some kind of boundary somewhere, but they want to keep some type of boundary in between it.
Well, let's say when emotion arises.
Oh, conflict.
Right. And there it is.
But everybody has a problem with conflict is what communication. That's what it messed up.
Right. So I take that community and I'll go, okay. So what ends up happening is you'll have a parent all of a sudden act like they don't speak or know the same language as you anymore.
Wow, interesting. I think hearing people do that as well, though.
Oh, I know they do.
They pretend like they don't understand or pretend like they don't get your point because they don't want to get your point. Because sometimes, like you say, in conflict, they don't want to see that mirror. They don't want you to tell them what they're doing wrong. They don't want that hurt feeling, so they'll rather pretend like they don't know what you're talking about at all. That's it. They just shut down. A lot of people I do that too. I shut down.
I'm not going to sit here and say we're not all capable.
Right,
we all are. We're human, right?
Right. That's a big thing, man. Most people when faced with adversity, they shut down. They don't want to face it. I mean, they want to. I had a person tell me before, man. I had a person said, whenever you're presented with strife, or whenever we have a disagreement, whenever we have an argument, you don't like to sit in your stuff. You don't like to face it. That's what it is. You don't like to sit there in it. You beat around the bush. You say this little cute, charismatic stuff. You run around it. And she was like, and I let you do it. And she called me out one day. She said, you don't like to sit and face it. She was like, right now, we about to face it. We about to talk about this. And I was like, wow. So I actually had to sit there, uncomfortable, talk about a situation, something I did. I was running from something I did. And I had to sit there and talk about it. She wouldn't let me move.
You almost make me think I'm thinking about people that got initials like M and B.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of comical to me because one of the things that we actually have to do for each other is get past the emotion when it comes to communication. And if we have a situation where the emotion is too high, then we have to pause.
Okay.
We should take some time apart.
Okay.
I don't know, come up with a word.
Oh, what you mean, like a safe word or something?
Yeah.
That sounds like BDSM or something.
Man, hey, bro.
Yellow. What's your safe word, man? Let me know if I go too far.
Seriously, at the end of the day, if you need a few minutes, man, it's okay to pause. And we should do that for each other because everything about connecting with another person is a relationship.
Okay.
It is a bond.
So are you saying that when emotions are running high, that we should not be communicating? We should just stop?
I'm not going to say, it depends on the people.
Okay.
Let's say you and I had a disagreement, which we've had. And if we're capable of still dialoguing, and we both take breaths and continue to dialogue, and subside to the emotion. Like when I say subside, all I simply mean is we put it aside.
Got you.
And then I'll say, nah, it's cool. But if it's real high or any elevation in tone, for example, maybe we should chill out for a second.
So you're saying whoever's having a disagreement, number one, they should take time, pause, assess the situation, and secondly, assess themselves to see who they're dealing with and how should they move forth to get past it, if the goal is to get past it. Right. A lot of people don't want to get past it. A lot of people, when presented with stuff like that, they just call it quits. They give up. I mean, I'm accused of that myself in the past. If you say something I don't want to hear, I'm out. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear it. And I'm
right there with you. I grew up in that type of environment where you could dismiss a person so quickly, so fast. And one of the other things I learned from, growing up in a deaf household as well, is that, you shut emotion off and you shut people off pretty quickly. So, I've been deemed or categorized by, intimate people that know me. And they'll say stuff like, man, you process your emotion pretty quickly.
Hey, you really do. I've been around you.
But, I value communication more than anything.
Right. But really, I think...
Well, not anything, but you know what I mean.
When you're processing your emotions fast, and speaking to you because I know you personally, I think more so you're doing it because you're accustomed to it, but you're also doing it to get past the moment to go forth with the person. You ain't trying to cut it off. It's like it's some growth in that.
Yeah, no, I'm not ending the relationship simply because I do that.
Right, you just go through it, you process it, and you move on with it. You realize, like animals. I brought that up before. Human beings are the only ones that sit there and dwell on mistakes over and over and over. An animal makes a mistake or have a mishap, they keep on going. Right. They keep on living, keep on being themselves.
Well, I am an animal, but so are you.
I mean, thank you, man. But yeah, like I say, sometimes I look up to you. I look up to you in certain aspects of some of the growth you have that you experience, because some places I'm not there. And I can just
say. But you teach me just the same.
Right.
And we communicate, though. Mm-hmm. Look, I want to break something down to you that baffles me with the English language. Okay. Obviously, English is not my first language. So when I think of the commune and I think of occasion, communication. The I-cation for me, I choose a arithmetic pattern.
Okay, you better come with it.
So that brings me to nation. Mm-hmm. And then without a nation, it's not a person.
Okay.
So you have to have a person to have a nation.
Right.
When I think of the commune part, like a community, I think of the village, and I think about building.
Okay.
What is that saying, man? I hate when I'm dumbfounded within my own mind But it's
I feel like I know the same you're talking about, man. I really feel like, but I can't spit it.
It takes a village.
It takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, that's the one. Okay, we can do that. Oh, I like that too, though. A lot of people, when you have a kid, back in the day, anybody discipline your child. They doing something wrong. Anybody can say something to your child. Can't do that no more this day.
Well, no, you can't discipline like that anymore.
Right.
Again, we're distant. As people.
Social media. That's the point I want to bring up while we're at it. Not just social media, technology. Imagine this. Have you ever been in a situation, and I know a lot of you out there, y'all been in this situation. You might be heated, maybe you're not heated, but maybe you've been heated before verbally. Now you send somebody a text. They automatically assume, because they've been around you and they experience you physically in that situation, when they get that text across, they automatically assume they know the tone of that text, and they take it the wrong way.
Well, and that's one of the biggest problems. And I'm glad for this particular point. I'm grateful that I grew up in a different era of people. A text message you got to be careful with.
Oh, yeah.
When you just write words on a page and send it to somebody, email, text, letter, you can be absent of what the content really means because you can't hear the tone.
Right.
You can't see the vibe nor feel it.
Right. These days, they text you all day. They don't want to talk on the phone.
Well, let me tell you something. If you and I had a disagreement, misunderstanding, I promise to God, you're not going to get that over. And if we start with text, since we're in the modern world, I bet we're on the phone.
I bet we're on the phone. If you start
or
with
in
text,
person.
it graduates.
Or in person.
Yeah, either or. So you think you cannot get past a moment via text messages?
You can if the words are carefully chosen.
They have to be. You have to know the person, I guess. I've had somebody telling them before. I've met a person, and they just start texting you out the back, like, no, you got to call me. It's like, huh? No, you got to call me. I got to at least get your tone, get your voice, see how inflection.
I'm glad you said that because you bring me back to dialogue.
Right.
When I separate those, that word, I go, there's dial and okay. And immediately I go, okay, well, dial means to, pick up a tune.
Okay.
You gotta, hit some numbers.
Okay.
Find the right frequency. Right? Then you pick up the line.
You're not talking about that old rotary phone, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, you let them know.
And then, well, hey, man, I grew up around some old people.
I see.
And then you got to speak on the phone, right?
Okay.
Now you got to be with the person at the end of the day because you can't see each other. You're not there, but you got to connect some type of way. That's still a frequency. That's still a vibe.
So actually, as long as you're speaking and you can hear a voice, you think that's the best way to move forth in communication. We're talking about getting outside that text stuff right now. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
So you get dialogue has to involve actually hearing the sound and hearing the voice where you don't have room to assume.
If you want it to be healthy, if you don't want it to be robotic and distant, if you stay in the community where we're only via, I promise you we'll be more disconnected. Which we're already there anyway. So
yeah, a lot of because everybody living on social media. I feel like I'm bringing up social media every episode. Like people do not know how to communicate in real life anymore. They really don't. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. They use these emojis and hashtags and all that. When they get in person, there are no words. They really just don't know how to move past. They can't find a meme to express how they feel. You know what I'm saying? Not in real life.
Well, it looks like a mimic type world, though.
Yeah.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Oh, yeah, I like that, man. When we in the car, we all caught up in the car.
Man, at the end of the day, that's what ends up happening to us. And we're so robotic that we don't communicate.
Right.
Imagine for a second, how does a computer communicate with another computer?
How a computer communicate with another computer? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Data, information.
That's it. Purely facts.
Right. Just pure facts.
No emotion.
No, so you're saying, now you got me now, no emotions, but computers are not human.
And then we get to act like that?
Yeah. I mean, emotions are a part of who we are. So it has to be dealt with.
But we don't understand our emotion.
So that's what we only
compute.
So you're saying when someone, you're saying we're acting like computers. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, boy. I was about to go in there.
But seriously, we only act analytically with each other.
Like you say, you want to get rid of all emotions. You want to act like that's not a part of us. We want to act like we don't feel.
So we don't communicate.
We want to act like we don't care. Mm-hmm. It's pride. Mm-hmm. I think pride is the biggest pride is the biggest downfall of communication, man.
1633.
Pride's the biggest downfall of saying, hey, we need to talk. Mm-hmm. Hey, I don't understand that. Hey, can you explain to me why you did that? Hey, I'm hurt.
Amen.
Hey, that was painful.
Hey, man, I got you.
Hey, I care.
We'll be there.
Amen. Ooh, boy, look at you. Was that a poem or something? Did you write that? Did you got a book?
That was straight. DJ wrote it.
Oh, okay. I got you, DJ, man. But yeah, man, people like literally at the end of the day, they just don't want to talk. They're all worrying about their pride and that big ego spread, and that they were the one. I bow down first. I call first. You call first. I mean, that stuff is irrelevant. That stuff is stupid, and it's stifling our growth. And we're sitting in the same place when we can move forward. We can be way ahead, and that's in everything: relationships, friendships, and any other kind of ships you want to put on.
Any dynamic.
Any dynamic, man.
It does not matter. I mean, you could take that in business just the same.
Oh yeah. Business got a lot of that.
And that's how business crumbles sometimes, right? When they're too prideful.
Okay.
Right? They can't see nothing beyond themselves. You know, you can't see no opportunity for growth. You think you got to figure it out all the way.
Got you.
So when you come to a disconnect in a relationship or friendship or anything like that, your pride will create something so much that communication becomes irrelevant. Why are you even talking to me?
A lot of people also, manipulate within communication. Manipulation is a big thing. I mean, it's some people who know how to communicate very well, but they don't use it correctly. They don't use it in a good way. So they try to use it to take advantage of people and everything. So that'll shut people down too. So, I mean, how do you think you go about that when it comes to manipulation? How do we, stop that? How do we stifle that? That's just within a person. They have to work on that within themselves, you're saying?
Well, I mean, now you're going to make me think about this particular part. Sometimes people are unknowingly doing things, and now I got to hit science for a second. There are atmospheres around us, the power of influence, particles, dark matter, anything like that can influence you to behave a certain way, and you not even know that you're doing that. But outside of that, what we're supposed to do is connect, encourage, try to communicate. Right. Now, when the other person has no desire to communicate, dialogue with you, right? Then keep moving.
I think the biggest part of communication is just listening. It's simple. If you just take yourself out of it, in the middle of all that talking you're trying to do and all the points you're trying to make, if you just simply just stop and listen.
And I go, if you could hear.
Right, just simply. That's
in the book of James, by the way.
For you.
And Coda, yeah.
That's a big deal if you can hear. I just caught it, man. But yeah, if you just really stop and just listen to the other person's point, other person's perspective, stop for a moment, pause, put yourself for a moment in that other person's shoes, whether you agree with them or not. Just take a second to see how could they think the thought that they thought and how they come to the conclusion that they came to. And then actually use your mouth and articulate and speak to them and say, hey, I agree with this. Hey, I don't agree with this. Or hey, whatever it is that you feel. And I think that's the biggest start right there. You start with just listening, we can go so far.
Patience is a virtue.
Oh, you always saying that. Patience is a virtue. So that goes back to everybody in the rush to get their point across is what you're trying to say.
Breathe a little bit. That's what we got to do for each other, though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But how, though? How do we get, we can talk about this all, I get it, but what I'm saying, we can talk about this all day, but just like every episode, I try to come down to a simplified version of how we can convey this message to people where they can really take steps. I mean, we can say listen, but they've heard that before. We can say all this other stuff, but they've heard before. Really give them some little steps. We've done it every episode, everything we talk about.
So the very moment you feel that friction, right, I go, do you or did you live that other person's life? Did you?
Perspective.
Chill for a minute.
Okay.
I go, just take a step back for a second, man. I mean, what are you afraid of? Is it that you think they're physically about to harm you? You think they're about to mentally damage you, emotionally destroy you? What is it that you're thinking at that moment that causes you not to sit there and go, let me hear this person out?
I'm about to do something different.
Okay.
Like I always do. Different but the same. So prepare yourself. Ready.
Lord.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to take you there. We got to stroke some brains. We got to do it how we do it. Now. So you ready? Okay. I want you to close your eyes for a second. I want you to bring into yourself right now a feeling when you felt conflict. Bring some conflict into your spirit.
Conflict?
Just right now, just follow me. You had conflict in your life before. Remember what you felt. Your eyes open. Remember what you felt. Hold on. Let me do what I do. Remember what you felt right now. I'm going to tell you what the conflict was about. All right. You had a conflict about something that you said. The person didn't like the way you said it. So now, y'all, the voices are elevating. Y'all almost screaming at each other. Paint the picture. Feel it. Y'all screaming at each other right now. You're not hearing what they're saying. They're not hearing what you're saying. Feel that feeling inside of you right now, like as if it's really going on. We get to a point now, we're tired of arguing. We're tired of talking about it. We're breathing, we're upset. We're sitting there staring, we're looking at each other, but now we want to speak and now we want to talk. What do you say?
Well, my problem initially is...
Talk directly to the person, not in general.
Right. So my problem initially is the very moment, and this is for the public, the very moment I would have ever felt my voice getting elevated, I'd have walked out and said I have
that didn't happen. I'm telling you to be in a moment as if right now it just happened.
So let's hypothetically say that.
Right now, you're in the middle of it. The argument happened. It's done. Right now, what are your words? What do you do? I'm trying to help a person go through that. Right now, what do you do?
My words is, all right, I'm taking a ride for a few minutes.
So that's how you deal with it. You leave. You give yourself a break. You get out of the situation.
Well, we have to give each other a break. Okay. I mean, I'll take a simple Aramaic teaching. You know, it says take your leave when you're provoked. It's a proverb.
So if you take it to that point, you feel like now we gotta split up from the situation. We gotta go our separate ways for a second.
Why would you do anything otherwise?
Right. Some people sit in it. So I'm just trying to get different methods. So your method is to get in the car, you leave, you got to take a drive, clear your head.
Or walk outside or walk around. You just need a pause for a second. Again, you and I talked about that. If we rush through that, you see what I'm saying? One of the things I learned in the deaf community, again, is they react extremely fast.
So you made it back now. What do you say? That's the point I want. I want you to speak as if it actually happened.
And now I come back.
Real time. You're talking as if. You're talking
as if. You don't know how long I was gone for, though.
No, you're talking. So you're not getting what I'm saying. That's what I'm telling you. Pause. You're talking as if you're outside the situation. I want you to talk as if it's happening as you're in it right now.
And I've been in a situation.
But you're speaking it from the third person. Speaking of it as if you're in it. Say, hey, I'm back now. Imaginary person. We should talk about this.
Oh, yeah. I
will have to leave and take a breath. I know you might be upset that I left. You might feel like, I abandoned the issue and I'm running away from it. But I had to pause. I had to think, I had to breathe because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. I already said some of the wrong things. And if I said something hurtful, I probably did. Because when you're angry, you say the most hurtful stuff. I probably meant the stuff I said, but I could have said it in a different way.
But I'm also one of those type of individuals that also believe in this concept as well. So if I come back and I'm looking at you and I say, hey, look, I'm sorry for, what happened. But can you tell me what's really bothering you if you don't mind? Bingo. And let's take our time. I'm not in a hurry. We got all night if we want to stay up.
Okay.
And let me tell you something. I am truly sorry for anything I said when I was angry. We don't communicate.
That's it. That's all I was trying to get. I wanted to get in it for people who are in these situations. Like, it's okay to just drop everything and say that stuff. I don't care. That could be your significant other.
Well, pride.
That could be your friend. That could be your family member. Drop that. Like, we talk about it, but it's not a lot of times when people actually get inside of that experience to see, like, hey, I just did that yesterday. Okay, so next time, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. I'm going to come back and say that. Some people don't know how. That's
why I told you about Aramaic and Arabic, That's what we're most familiar with when it comes to, certain ancient proverbs.
Okay.
Proverbs 16:33, for example, says that pride is before a crash. So if we're not careful, our prideful behavior will lead to destruction in our relationships.
Right.
We will not try to communicate.
I wanted to share that just because some people just don't know how to get outside of that pride. Like, that's why I want to show just steps where they can say, hey, I could try that. I can implement that because they might have been brought up like that, reared like that.
Well, isn't life okay? Let's go backwards in time. One of the things that I think that doesn't get taught to children is that life is a journey. There are stages, better yet, seasons that exist. I remember you mentioned that. What if you only had 30, 40 summers?
Most of us do have 30, 40 summers.
Right, but we're talking about seasons at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So my problem is we don't value communication like we used to. I'm grateful that my great-grandfather was 1903 and my grandmother was 1933. I look at those years and I say, oh, my God, these people were tent huggers. You know what I mean? You're talking about such an old generation. They look at you in the eyes and they talk to you. Then I was privileged by God to give me deaf parents. They only know how to communicate with you a certain way. Now, I told you about something, what is it called? The lack of communication. No, misconception.
Okay. Yeah, misconception of communication.
Yeah. When I told you that my mom would act as if we don't speak the same language. And you say, hearing people do just the same. I said, oh, trust me, I know.
Oh, yeah. They do.
Trust me, I know.
Right. So you think the foundation of, I always go back to childhood, of learning to communicate in a healthy way starts as a kid because, number one, most kids, they're told to stop, no, don't. They're not given explanations why they're being told things. They're not allowed to express themselves because, they're saying you're a child or whatever. So you think if you start building that foundation on how to do that from a kid, it'd be a much better world and people would do it much more successfully?
We'd be at a faster pace in the sense that we would figure out certain problems earlier. We wouldn't have to drag it out. And that's what we do in our relationships, friendship, whatever you want to call it. That's what we do in our society is we drag out our issues. And then we stay in a depressed state.
Right.
You got people that kill themselves because they can communicate with another person. I mean, just think about the children that go, oh, my God, I have no one. I can't talk to no one.
Right. And
right? Because
go ahead.
Yeah, but there's no type of expression of communication. First of all, one of my biggest problems with language, you're not actually trying to figure out the other person's language.
Okay.
And I'll take verbal away real fast.
Okay, so go with that. So you take verbal away?
Energy.
That's a big one. A lot of people are not going to sit there and say, let me try to figure out a person's energy. That I think that takes some steps to elevation. It's a lot of people. You think that can be simplified?
You got to do me a favor right now.
What's up?
Share something with me, please. I feel like I'm begging a little bit.
Hold on now. Now, I like when they beg. Hold on now. I might have to hold out a little bit, but you say you don't like the wait, so I'm going to give it to you. I got you.
Oh, Lord Jesus. An intellect.
Ah, man. So, it's very rare.
So, go ahead with your rarity now.
It's always rare. But, it's very rare that I share some of my work. I don't know. I'm a little shy with it. I'm getting better at it. My brother here is, showing me how to step out of the shadows a little more. But, I write a little bit too. You might have heard, I think a couple episodes back, I might have shared something. So bear with me. I'm going to open up and I'm going to shoot this one out to you. It's actually titled the same as the title of the episode, The Misconception of Communication. Why is communication like a foreign nation? Most people are looking too high to see it. We are too busy overreaching to prove my point goes further than yours. I guess there's nothing like the prize of being right in your own eyes. As you sit in purgatory of your perception, when you make the exception to see from the eyes right in front of yours. Are you afraid to grow? Maybe I see that you have a different depiction of me and I have to go back to the drawing board. Or maybe it's my reflection I see shooting back at me in the form of words. I don't care for the shadow, so I prefer to battle the ups and downs and don't forget the curves. I also avoid staring right in front of me as you take control of me with nouns, adjectives, and verbs. I hate that I proceed that way. Listening is free, they say, but I pay the price to be right. Is it worth the peace I sacrifice? God gave us 2 ears and 1 tongue to give us a chance to think twice. Lower your sights. Communication is not a foreign nation. It's paradise.
Man, I'm a cheerleader.
Well, you better get those pom-poms out, man.
Hey, I'm going to leave that conversation alone.
Man,
okay?
But yeah, that came out of me. I actually wrote that today. It just poured out of me, man. It's just sometimes I just put that pen to that pad and I just let it go. And when I read it, it's just whatever's there is there. Kind of like when we get on this mic, man. We just kind of let God use us. And whatever come out is what you say, like you say, is divine.
Hey, divinity is a real thing. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss it.
It is, man. That was a real release. I don't know, but hopefully, man, we actually got down and help a couple people, pull out some points, maybe some stuff that you didn't think about before. I don't know, Stro, what you got going on? What you got for us over there?
Well, my mind gets to racing a little bit. I try to shut off my analytical sometimes because analytical can cause confusion in conversation. I told you before, having you as a friend in my life is just amazing, right? But we afford each other communication and dialogue. And as I mentioned earlier, the dial part is the tune, right? It's part of the vibe, and it's a part of being with. And I had to dig real deep in the English language to find out that dial can come from the word con. And I said, so we got to be with each other. That's the negative. Don't get it twisted. English will have you confused.
I think we got to get out of the defense all the time. We always playing defense.
That's where we are.
We don't have to do that.
Well, again, vulnerability.
That word comes up every episode, man. Why is it so hard for human beings to be so vulnerable? We want to be seen. We don't want to be seen as imperfect, but yet we are.
Yeah, well, when you're always trying to protect.
That's what it is?
Make money, protect your house, responsibilities, accountability puts us in this prim nature, but it's in this world is attached to capitalism.
Now you made me go back to think of something, though. So you think before, you said protect, so that's what took my mind here. So back in the day, when it was a little more safe than what it is now, you think they communicate a little better, communicate a little more? They have more of that village feel, more of the togetherness, so
no, I'll just
a little better?
That's not my initial thought. My initial thought is I bet their vibration was different, which made them feel more connected, and they didn't have to speak as much. So we got into the psych world, and we want to always break things down versus how we feel. Okay. And now, don't get me twisted. Now, I want you to understand, when you mix those two chemicals, you can get misunderstanding. Okay. The emotion and the psych.
Oh, I got you.
The analytical. Mm-hmm. So, no. I think what ended up happening is, let's say somebody was out hunting, came home, and immediately, as soon as the person walked in the home, they looked at the person and they could see the shoulder slump. See no words.
No words.
Necessarily needed? No. You could go, well, somebody doesn't feel too good right now.
Right. You actually took the time to read the energy of the body language, not just the words.
But we're not looking at each other. So if we're not looking at each other, how can we communicate? That's one of the things I appreciate about my grandmother and my great-grandfather in the deaf community. Right. You have to look at them.
I mean, when do people start feeling less than? I think everybody has the fear of feeling less than the next person. And that's when communication becomes hard, too, because now when I communicate to you, I'm not going to say how I truly feel because I don't want to be seen as weak, number one. I don't want to see like the one that back down first or whatever. When did that come into play? When people start feeling like, I don't want to feel less than.
Now, that's a good question. I don't know if we have enough time
for that. Yeah, because we try not to hold you guys. We might have to do a part 2 on it if you're going to go that deep in it, man. But, yeah, I was thinking that's a big point, man. People really afraid of that. They feel like, you feel like you're above them and all that, but it's not that serious, man.
That's back to pride.
Yeah, it's always back to pride, man. Pride plays a human being, man. Get rid of the pride. We're going to simplify this. Get rid of the pride. Talk to your mother. Talk to your brother. Talk to your neighbor. Don't let 20 years go by. You haven't talked to your sister because y'all had one little disagreement over something small and something stupid, and you don't want to be the first one to talk. You want to be the first one to say something, man. Communication, what they say, heal nations. So it's time we start some healing around here, man. Forget all that.
Absolutely. You mind if I share this before we leave?
Oh, man, come on with it.
All right, so miscommunication. Simple fact is this. It can be death dealing. When the mind can't connect, it'll lead to a physical disconnect. Continuous communication is life-saving. With it, we get to evolve in our dynamic. I'll say that the vibe can actually define a language. Even when there's a language barrier, we can. So why when we speak, we struggle? I guess the answer is a lack of effort. When we back away from trying, when we don't, we won't resonate with another. We do not actually need words. However, our words can do so much. It can touch. It can breathe life into our sisters and brothers. It can save. The gift life gave with the ability of speech. So will we, try to reach another?
Can I do it now?
Hey, man, I'm with you.
My D'Angelo, y'all.
Oh,
y'all know him in the flesh. So, like we said, we're not going to keep you guys all night. To simplify a little bit, listen, I hear you. I want to understand you. I don't get it, but I can. I'm here for you, and I will. So, just try simple steps, man. Take the pride out of it. Build a community. Let's get back to that village, man. We were always trying to be one, that nation. We can still have it. Technology hasn't taken it that far away from it, man. We can still simplify this advanced technological world, man. Let's get back to the basics.
Well, let's connect.
Yeah. Well, I talk to you and you listen. All right, man. Y'all know what just happened. What happened, Stroke?
Stroked up.
You just got stroked up, man. And don't forget, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, social media at STROK'D _ the podcast, at STROK'D _ the podcast. Good night.